Welcome to Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And this is why you have to tune in every morning right at 6, because you never know who is going to be in the studio this morning. We are being joined by candidate for United States Senate, Mike Sapraicone. Good morning.
Morning, Frank. Great to be here.
What a nice surprise. You were just walking by on Market Street. I said, come on in.
I had nothing to do at 6 in the morning this morning, and I happened to be in Corning, and I said, hey, what's Frank doing this morning?
Perfect timing. But the big question, the hard-hitting question, how was the Chemung County Fair?
Oh, it was terrific. I had
Isn't
such
that
a
nice?
great time.
Yeah.
We walked around for about 2.5 hours and just meeting everybody. And you'll see in the next couple hours here, I'm a big talker. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
I've learned to listen a little, but I love to talk. So just shaking hands and listening to people. And so everybody's been so wonderful to me. It's just been terrific.
And they made some big changes to the fair. And I hear it's going great. I mean, I think admission's $2.
$2, pretty good, not too bad.
Now
It's very reasonable. But a big crowd too. When I was there about 4:30,
Good.
And I guess they were getting ready for the concert. I think
the
it was
Oak Ridge Boys. Yep.
last night,
Yep.
and that brought in a crowd my age kind of crowd. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
So which they were excited about, but it's looking good.
Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Why did you decide to run for the United States Senate? This is not an easy job. I'm sure you're traveling a lot. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Why did you decide to run?
Well, I'm a retired New York City detective. I did that for 20 years. So this is kind of easy in compared to that. But I enjoyed that job a lot. And I did that for 20 years. I'm retired for 24 years. And I opened a small security company. And it turned out to be a pretty big global company. By the time I sold it in 2022, I had over 800 retired and active law enforcement officers work for me around the country and in Europe. So I have 5 grown children. My wife's a Supreme Court justice. I live in Long Island. I have 5 grandchildren. And, I've always liked to give back, and I've always been involved. I've been on many boards over the years. I think it's time we start getting back to common sense.
Yeah.
And we lack that, not just in this state, but in this country. So I think that's a big deal, and I think I bring something to the table, especially not just the law enforcement, but my business experience. I think that's really important, being able to deal with clients and talking about best practices and being able to put sides together. And I think we don't do that enough anymore.
No, and with your background in law enforcement, at a time when public safety is really issue number one for voters, it's got to be great to have that experience so you can tell people what we need to do in this state, because people are terrified on the streets anymore.
And it's perception just as much as New York City, and I'm a city kid.
Right.
I grew up in Queens, live in Long Island. But they say, oh, crime is down, crime is down. But it's when you go on a subway, you're scared.
Yeah.
When you walk down a street in Rochester, and I'm not pinpointing Rochester, but any street in any big city, it's scary sometimes at night, and people are concerned.
And they have a right to be. That seems to be the common trend, right? And there's no such thing as inflation right now, and then we go to the grocery store, right, and we see the bills. Same with public safety. No, it's safe out there, and then you're terrified, as you said, to go on the subway or walk at night.
That's right.
In your neighborhood.
That's right. And you talk about inflation. I mean, I remember going to the grocery store as a child. They used to crack open they used to have these styrofoam eggs, right?
Yeah.
And you probably don't remember this.
No,
I'm
no.
a little older than you, but you crack it in half and you'd buy 6 eggs. So I would always, one egg would break all the time. I was terrified now. Would I put that egg back? Would I bring that home to my mom to crack one and get yelled at?
Right.
But now I go into stores and I see people saying, can I buy 2 eggs?
Yeah.
And you buy a half gallon of milk with $6.29 I paid the other day.
It's crazy.
Just bought gas here.
Yeah.
Now I'm a city guy. I think I pay $5 in the city.
Yeah.
I expected to pay like $2.50 here. I think I paid $4.50 or something to get gas.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, and it's not getting better.
No.
It isn't getting better.
Now, when you mentioned you were at the fair and you've got a lot of traveling, we're going to talk about your travel, but when you're talking to voters and you said everybody was so friendly yesterday, what are their major concerns? What are they telling you that they want you to focus on if you're our senator?
Well, up here, when you travel the state, and this is such a big state, 62 counties.
Yeah.
I'm having such a great time trying to hit every one 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Well, farming is a big deal as we get up to this area, right? And agriculture and loss of jobs. I mean, I was in Endicott a few months ago, and you go where IBM was, and the streets are deserted, and they're trying to rebuild Main Street. It was so cool last night. I kind of walked down Market Street, and I ate at Mooney's,
yes.
I had this big thing of macaroni and cheese.
That's what they're known for, yeah.
Yeah, but walking the streets were pretty cool. This is what an American town looks like.
Yes.
I grew up in the city, and it's a little bit different, right?
Sure.
But people are concerned. They're worried about their jobs. We all want better for our children.
Yes.
And you want your children to do better. But I find, as I talk to people, they're just not just concerned about the child being able to buy a house and being able to pay those mortgages. But if they have a job, can they get promoted from within?
Right.
Will they find a job that they stay here with? And people are concerned about that.
Yeah.
If we don't do something to bring industry back to this state and to give incentives to companies and businesses to want to come here, we're going to have a bigger problem than we have now. It's not getting better.
No.
It's not getting better here.
No. And I would encourage anybody to send in, you see the number on the bottom of your screen, send in any questions for our guest. And you mentioned that staying here, young people staying here, isn't that one of the biggest concerns in New York is a mass exodus? My goodness, the numbers every year are worse and worse.
It's crazy. And they're going to red states. They're going to Florida. They're going to North Carolina.
Exactly.
So you know what happens is, so your children go away to college, and they go to North Carolina, and they like it. So they decide, hey, I can get a job down here. It's cheaper to buy a house. The cost of living is much better. I'm going to move here. Now they have children. So now your grandchildren are here. So now you're retired on a fixed income, and your taxes are going up, your school costs are going up. We're bringing illegal migrants in you're paying for. And you say at some point, why do I want to be here anymore? Why don't I go and follow my kids?
Yes, it's so troubling. So let's talk more about your campaign specifically. You mentioned you traveled a lot, and we were talking off the air. We got a mutual friend, Mr. Joe Sempolinski, former congressman.
What a great chair. What a great, he's been so good to me. Joe has been great. He's running for assembly, I believe, right? Yeah. So he's just been terrific. And all the chairs, all the Republican and conservative chairs throughout the state.
Sarah Lanton, who we were talking to last
night.
Sarah
was great last night. I was at the fair with her yesterday. Such a nice person. She knows everyone, and
she does.
Everybody likes her, and everybody wants to stop and talk to her. So it was great.
Yeah.
But I'm learning, even people I meet who aren't in the same mind thought as we are, right? Who aren't conservative and aren't Republicans. But these are American issues, even though the issues are out there and they're everyone's issues. Yes. And as somebody will say, well, you're endorsed by Trump. Well, I don't even want to talk to you. And I'll say, well, slow down a minute. Let's have a conversation. All right, I might not like everything President Trump does, but he's done some great things and has some great policies. Let's talk about what he's done. Let's talk about where you were 3.5 years ago and where you want to be in the next 4 years. And then let's talk about me and my opponent. Let's look at the differences there, right? Yeah. So as being this old cop, Frank, I say if you put my opponent in a lineup, you can't even pick her out.
No, it's true.
And you know what? Everybody throughout the state says, who are you running against? That guy, Chuck? What's his name?
Yeah.
And I'll say, no, the other senator.
No, the other one.
Who is the other senator?
Yeah.
So
it's true.
People are talking about that. And my point is, listen, look at the differences between the two of us. I care. It's important to me to be in this state and walk around and talk to people. When was the last time you spoke with her? When was the last time she stopped at your coffee shop?
Yeah.
Or stopped into your drugstore? Or stopped on your show?
Yeah.
But, I mean, these are important things. Yeah. We'll probably see her around a little more now. They're closed for a month, right?
Yeah, right.
But it's important as your senator. I want to be the senator for everybody.
Right.
And I want to be able to talk to everybody and listen to everybody.
Here's a comment from a viewer. I might have missed it, but is he a Republican, being that he's from New York City?
Yes, certainly a Republican. Well, we don't have Republicans in New York City. Well, I'm actually now living in Nassau, and that's a red county.
There you go.
With a big red wave in Long Island the last couple of years. But certainly am a conservative Republican.
No, I know. We're just teasing. But so you mentioned that about Gillibrand being in the lineup. What has she done? What record can she really run on?
Well, that's the issues right there. Nobody really can. I think she's done some stuff for 9/11, which we'll applaud her for.
Yeah, of course.
That's a big deal. We'll applaud her for that. She's done some stuff for women's rights. We should applaud her there. But we need to hold our elected officials accountable.
Yes.
Not just for what they do, but what they're not doing. And that's important. Something just came out about Kamala Harris, and she's the #1 far left senator when she was a senator.
Yeah.
Then was Bernie Sanders, and third on that list was Kirsten Gillibrand. Yeah. So we need to get back to basics, at least get back to the middle and start moving in the right direction. These things aren't about right and left, they're about right and wrong, right? These are the issues for everybody, and we don't do that anymore. Again, it goes back to common sense, Frank.
Right. And it was interesting. I remember when she was first running, and everybody said, well, I think the one silver lining is she's going to be good on gun rights. Remember when they said that? Because when she needed to get elected in her conservative district, she was a little more pro-gun. Now, not so much.
Well, when she became a congresswoman, she was very much that way, right? And then when Patterson appointed her to take Clinton's place, slowly but surely has she shifted over the last 15 years from being a moderate person to a far-left person. And it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable in this state.
No.
We need two-party politics
yes,
here.
Please.
We don't need to be ruled by one party. We need equal rights here in this state, and we need a strong Republican leader. And I think when President Trump gets elected, we're going to see that. And I'm hoping that I'm right under Trump's name is Sapraicone. So I'm hoping that will come down. I'm hoping will help the rest of the down ticket. We have to maintain these seats in the House. That's a big deal. And New York is very much responsible. California tries to say they had something to do with it. They had nothing to do with it. We need to stay strong in New York. Keep the House. My seat will pick up the Senate, and so we'll have the presidency, the Senate, and the House, and that's how we can start governing again.
Yes, and you're right about the House. Lee Zeldin and the hard work he did as governor and campaigning, trying to be governor.
What a great foundation, Lee said. Right? He fell a little bit short, and he fell a little short in the city. And he's a Long Island guy. I'm a city kid. If I can't get that 37% of the city, then I've failed. So I'm going to work hard. Those are the streets I protected for 20 years. We want to get the boroughs. We need them.
And you had mentioned earlier what Gillibrand had done with 9/11, but did you see that yesterday with that plea deal with the 9/11 mastermind? What is this administration doing at this point?
How do you talk to those parents? How do you talk to the people, the spouses, the families that lost their loved ones in that? It's what it is. We show weakness. And that's why we have the Israel attack on October 7th. That's why we have Ukraine. That's why we have to concern ourselves with what China's going to do in Taiwan. We need to start having stronger leadership. And that's what we'll get when Trump gets back in office. And that's what we need here in the United States, everywhere, in each office, in each position. State, local positions, federal positions. We need to start showing leadership again.
Well, and that's what I like what J.D. Vance had to say, that we don't need a president that negotiates with terrorists, but kills terrorists.
He's an Army guy. He understands. He's a military person, and that's what you need to do. We need to not to be tolerant of them. We need to make them accountable for what they do. And I think what an important thing to me is, of course, my law enforcement experience is very important to me, but I think also my business experience. So we're done with a 50-year politician. We're done with somebody who's been in politics their whole lives. Do they know what it is to make a payroll? Did they know what it is not to lay somebody off? Did they know what it is to tell your family, hey, I've got to pay my employees this week, so we're going to cut back a little bit, right? Maybe we're going to have a little more chicken this week or something like that. So I don't think they understand that. They've never had to confront those situations or make decisions that are life-changing. Even though they think they make life-changing decisions for the state of this country, what about when you have to bring it down to a business and make those decisions? That's hard. We're
going to talk more about your business experience here in just a second, but we got to take our first break. Stay with us. Get your questions in. You see the number on the bottom of the screen. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking in the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program. Up a little louder. And welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are being joined in the studio by candidate for United States Senate, Mike Sapraicone. Mike, thanks so much for being on the program this morning. Again, we got a couple comments from viewers. First off, had a nice time at the fair, so this isn't related to you. Had a nice time at the fair. It's got everything. One of the best fairs I've been to, going back on Demo Derby Day. There you go. Another comment. He has my vote because he seems to be in touch with the reality of the present state of affairs here in the United States.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good comment. Okay, now we were talking about your business experience. Why, as a businessman, not as a candidate, why would a business stay here or move here?
Very difficult to stay here, and it's always been a concern of mine. And we did business in a lot of different states, and we had a company in California, more difficult than New York, and New York is pretty difficult. But we don't give people incentives to have a business here. Look what happened in the city with Amazon. With AOC and that whole group, and our state senator here from down there, and what a missed opportunity.
I know.
What a missed opportunity. Why don't we take advantage of these things? And it seems like that's what we're doing, especially in this state. We're not taking advantage of situations. What are we doing to keep companies here? We're not doing anything to keep them, and we're not doing anything to bring them in. So I had my business for 33 years. I employed over 800 people, all law enforcement, active and retired. It was time for me to retire and move on to my third career. But I think it's difficult to conduct business. It's difficult to bring in business, to keep clients. But I think it's something we can change. Listen, there's cycles in everything you do, right? And it's about timing. And I think the timing is right for a change in New York.
I agree.
And we talked about Lee Zeldin, how he set a great foundation. He's very close to being the governor. And people don't understand that you need to come out on November 5th and vote. That's how you change things. We can't stay home and moan and groan if we don't come out and vote. And it's something, and I'm going to kind of spin off a little bit, but I think as Republicans, and I talk about this all the time, we tend to fight among ourselves. The other party doesn't tend to do that. They tend to do it behind closed doors and rally around.
That's what was so shocking about Biden.
So shocking.
We've never seen that before. Democrats turning on a Democrat.
Right. And democracy. We've just crowned her queen or whatever we want to do. But besides that, we need to do things better. To me, on Tuesday morning of Election Day, you get up, you get a bagel, you go and you vote, and then the kids are off from school and you take them to the park or the playground to play. No more. We don't live that way anymore. Right. We need to keep up with the pace. We need to do early voting to make sure we get out there and get voting 10 days ahead or whatever the time span is and get that done because, as Republicans, we do things well. We do boots on the ground really well.
Yeah, we do.
And we had a special election in February in Nassau County, and it snowed that day.
Yes.
And that hurt. It hurt. And in November, it snows once, especially up here, I guess, right?
Yes,
okay?
It does, yes.
So we need to do early voting, get those early ballots out. We need to do absentee ballots. I mean, how many children do we send away to college and they don't do an absentee ballot because they think it's not important? And we need to do that. We need to get young people registered. We need to get young people to understand that their vote counts. And I'm going to be speaking at a scope function in September. And it's so important, our Second Amendment rights. But and again, I'm not going to knock the NRA, but when we look at, they have over 5 million people in this state alone who are NRA members. Only 1.5 million voted last year because they don't feel their vote is important or counts. I want to show them that their vote counts, that their vote's important. We understand what rights our Second Amendment is and how important that is to us as Americans and New Yorkers. And that's important. And we need that support. But we need everybody to get out there and vote and start understanding these are important things.
Exactly. And I like what you said because I've heard people saying, I think Joe Sempolinski last time he was on was actually saying it. We may not like the rules and the early voting, something like that, but they're the rules.
That's it.
And as Republicans, we have to adapt and start playing by the same rules that Democrats are playing by because you're exactly right. With that snow, think of how many people that could not make it out.
That's right, because you planned on then schools got closed, so you didn't take your kids to school.
Or you get sick or whatever.
So many different things. Something comes up. Life comes up, and it's important.
I know this is the first year, because we all like it. I think Republicans are so proud to vote, right? So you look forward to voting day and you go in. This is the first year I'm going to try to early vote, just to make the point that we have to start doing that.
Well, I've done it, and they kind of make it so convenient. My wife and I have done it last year we did it for the first time. And there's pretty much a million places you can go to and vote. It's not like you got to go to the local place. You can go to the store shopping, and you have like 10 polling places, and you go there. And that's something else we're going to do better this year as Republicans, election integrity. So President Trump this is a tremendous concern, in New York and in every state. But we need to do better. We're going to make sure we have representatives at every polling spot. And we've brought a ton of lawyers in. The president is working so hard, putting a team together. And we want to make sure that everything is done correctly.
Before we go, I got another comment. I got to take another break, but I got another comment from a viewer. I also think that he will not be wishy-washy, meaning you, and does not say that what any particular audience wants to hear in a good way.
Listen, I want to speak my mind. I want to listen to what your ideas are.
Yeah.
But I want to have a conversation back and forth.
Exactly.
I want to learn from you.
Yes. And you were mentioning earlier about winning the state back over because it is single-party rule, right? And it's destroying the state.
Right.
But then you saw that Trump rally in the Bronx.
I was there.
Oh, were you?
I was there.
That's amazing, the numbers.
It was great. Yeah. Really cool.
And when people are starting to talk, and I mean, I'm a little jaded from doing this for so long, and I don't know if New York will ever go red, but it's encouraging to see those kind of numbers.
Very encouraging. Yeah. And of course the media tried to play it down as well. It wasn't as many people as they thought. Yeah. There were people they wouldn't let in because they shut the park down and wouldn't let people. It was a big pep rally. Yeah. And when you get back, let's talk a little bit about the convention if you have time.
Yeah,
because that was a great pep rally.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be right back. Stay with us. And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselstein studio here on historic Market Street in Corning. Right before we went to break, you were saying that you went to the convention. How much fun was that? That seemed like an amazing convention to me.
So I've never been to a convention before.
Oh, really?
This was my first convention. And, I haven't been a political guy.
That's
I'm
true.
just a business guy and a cop guy and a family guy. So now, since February, since I got the nomination here up in Broome County in Binghamton, it's been thing after thing after thing after thing, meeting people I never would imagine I'd be sitting with, talking to guys like you, and being on different radios and TV shows. But so here I am in the front row, and the second row was my worst seat, and we're right off to the right of the stage in Milwaukee. And what an experience! It was a big pep rally. It was a big production. It was amazing. Yeah. It was amazing. And then when they let the balloons go at the end of Thursday night, you couldn't even. There were so many balloons you couldn't get out of the aisles without stepping on people and falling down. And but I think everybody put together what we need to do, and we need to unify as a party. Right. I think that's the President Trump's point, and I think he did that, and he made that point. We had some great speakers. We were so lucky here. We had Lee Zeldin spoke. Yeah. We had Elise Stefanik, who has endorsed me. Elise has endorsed me, along with President Trump, who's endorsed me 3 times. Okay. So
waiting for that
fourth. And you never know when that's going to come. You sit down somewhere, and all of a sudden, there it is. Congratulations, Mike. Yeah. So always a great honor. But we were going around getting endorsements from most of the sheriffs here, everybody we meet in the law enforcement community, which I would hope would be the case. But it was so exciting. It was so exciting to see people there and to be there and be part of that.
You could feel the excitement even through TV. You know, obviously I was watching it from TV. And sometimes, let's face it, in the past, some of the conventions can be kind of boring. Every speech on there was, I think, a home run.
And his 2 sons, Eric and Donald, did great speeches. Yep. And his granddaughter, I thought that was so cool.
She was a star,
She was good. Yeah. She was good.
She did a great job.
You know, it was kind of anticlimactic by the time the president got there, right? So, but, you know, that is what it is. But it was such a great, and he was so inspirational in wanting to, you know, talking about what happened to him only a few days earlier, which is an amazing thing in itself. You know, thank God he's alive, and thank God for this country. That's the last thing we needed, was to see anybody. These political things are so ridiculous. You know, we have to learn to work together. I mean, when I grew up, you know, no one ever said to me, "What party are you from?"
Right.
You know, we'd have a conversation and you talk and you might disagree. Good friend of mine, Senator Alphonse D'Amato, our last Republican senator, is an office. His office is next door to my office in Long Island, and I can hear him yelling through the walls all the time still. But he would tell me stories, and I had a radio show I told you before. It was called Street Smart with Mike Sapraicone. But when Alphonse D'Amato came on, it was the Alphonse D'Amato show with guest Mike Sapraicone, because he talked more than me. But he would tell stories about being on the floor with Ted Kennedy or somebody else, and debating and arguing on the floor and having conversations, and then going and having a cigar and a drink later and talking about the world, the way it is, and what they can do to make it better. We don't see that anymore.
We don't have that. No.
I tell somebody I'm the Republican conservative candidate, they walk away from me. But what I'm finding, and
you're lucky if they walk away from you.
Well, what I found yesterday at the fair, I say, wait a minute, let's have a discussion. Everybody has had a discussion with me, and great. I say, you might not agree with this or that, but look where you were 4 years ago, look where you are today, and look where my opponent is. Look at the 2 of us, research us, and see what you think is a better choice. And I've gotten people to say, "Okay, I'll look at you. I'll listen to you." Yeah.
Well, and going back to the convention, if you look at some of the speeches, that's what people were saying. I was told that Trump was a racist, or that Trump was a horrible person, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And I did the research, and I actually looked into it. Next thing you know, none of that's true. It's the media lying to you, essentially.
That's right. Well, look at our next vice president, right? Yeah. So he wasn't a supporter, and And you know, you have to get to know people. You have to get to understand. You're not always going to agree with everybody. No. And if you agree with everybody, there's probably something wrong with you. Yeah, it's a boring life. Yeah. Right. So I think it's important to research people, understand people, and get to know people. I mean, as a cop, sometimes I'm a first impression type of guy. Yeah. Doesn't always work. Sure. Right.
Sure. Before we go, we do have another break, but I have a comment from a viewer. I'm glad Mike is on our side. See, you got some fans out there. But what I wanted to mention just before we go to break, because you had talked about the assassination attempt. Isn't it kind of interesting that obviously a horrible thing that happened, and now the media is quiet? When's the last time we've heard anything really about it? And we've heard of censorship of even the photo of that historic, iconic photo of the president pumping his fist and saying "fight." So I don't know how to exactly explain this, but they seem to be burying something that the whole world should know. This is a picture of us. Yes, and this is how divided we've become. So doesn't burying that photo just divide us even more?
It does. And you know, you bring up a bigger subject because they want to take history away.
Yes.
They want to cancel it. and it's important. We don't teach our children about World War I, World War II, the Holocaust. They don't know about this. They get about 15 minutes of that discipline in school. What's going to happen in 20 years? Will this never happen? What's Trump? Who is he? Right?
Right.
You know, but it doesn't have to be Trump. It could be Biden. It could be Kennedy. It could be anybody.
Yeah.
Why are we taking away what our history is? That's what's built us. That's what our foundation is, based on our history. You shouldn't take it away. We should be able to be happy about our history.
And they're taking away or rewriting it.
Right, well, they're rewriting it. Of course they are. They're to their benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's take another short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Mike, thanks again for being on the program. It's so nice to have you just stop in after grabbing a cup of coffee. And
great to be here.
we got
Thanks, Frank.
so many comments coming in. I realize we have a two-party system in this country, but why is it after the election the candidates, winners, retain their specific party logic? After the candidates win their particular office, aren't they working for all the people, not just Republicans or Democrats?
Well, what I'm learning is, and what I've seen is my experience as just a regular voter.
Yeah.
Once they win, they don't care anymore. Their job is now to win again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I feel bad for Congress people and assemblymen and state senators, 2-year terms. Yeah. When do you govern?
Yeah.
Right? You get elected, and in Congress you have to start raising money the next day to be ready for the next election. So at least with Senate, I have 6 years, and I can govern, and I look forward to that. But I think what we lack is those representatives understanding that they're the representatives of everybody, not the Democrats, not the Republicans, not the conservatives, the state of New York, the country. And that's important, and we lose focus because we're so worried about our next election that we don't, because we're worried about our jobs. Yeah. So what I'm really happy about with me, I've had my jobs.
Yeah.
I've been a cop. I've been a detective. I've had a business. I'm retired from both of those. My dedication now is to the people of the state of New York and to this country. I look forward to that. And I'm a big term limit guy. I think that's important. I've signed this when I had a little position where I was thinking of running for the Santos seat back in Long Island. Yeah. I wasn't the choice of the party, and that worked out well for me. Yeah. The party, we lost that election to a Democrat, but we'll gain that seat back hopefully this year. Yeah. But I think as a congressman, 6 years, 6 terms, 12 years is more than enough.
Yes.
I think as a senator, 2 terms. I mean, that'll make me 80, okay? But I'm looking forward to that.
Then you run for president.
Well, then I'm perfect. Then I can go right in there and step right in. But I think it's important that politicians and elected officials learn that they represent everybody, and we need to do that and get back to that.
Another comment from a viewer: I pray the government will fill up with supermen so the country can get back for peace, justice, and the American way. That's for sure.
Well, I think just, we're seeing in Western New York, we're seeing a lot of law enforcement people put up for positions, running for Congress, running for state senate, running for assembly. I think that's a great big deal. I think it's people, we understand how to think on our feet and how to make things happen. And I think it's very important.
And that's why I'd recommend people go to your website, because you have on your website a petition to keep cop killers. It's amazing we have to say this. Keep cop killers in prison.
Well, we had a press release, I guess, a presser they call it. I'm learning up in Albany about a month ago or so. I thought that we even have to have that, and like you said, to discuss this. So in the last 7 years between the Cuomo and Hochul administration, their parole commissioners appointed by them have released 41, up until last week, now 42 cop killers. That's 42 murderers of police officer and law enforcement. Somebody said to me, you mean in the country? No, in the state of New York, 42 cop killers released in the last 7 years, with about 22 still in prison. But I speak to these widows and these families, and every time they have to go in front of that parole board, they're serving life sentences. But we've decided in the state of New York that if you're 55 years old and you've served 30 years, maybe you deserve a break, another chance. What about the families who lost their loved ones? What about those law enforcement families? Senator Cotton from Arkansas, and I think Representative Garcia from California, are putting together a federal amendment, a federal law, which I support completely, that any law enforcement officer killed in the line of duty in this country will be a federal offense. And if that state has the death penalty, they would be put to death. And I support that. Yeah. I think we have to have zero tolerance. The border, we need zero tolerance. with killing of law enforcement officers. We need zero tolerance. And that goes into this bail reform. What's going on in New York
What a joke.
is just absurd. And Hochul will tell you how she's trying to fix it. And listen, my wife's a judge, and we've taken discretion away from the judges, okay? When they came up with the bail reform, how many sheriffs were up there discussing with them? How many DAs were up there? How many police commissioners? How many chiefs of police? They didn't ask anybody their opinion because they decided. They decided, the majority decided, the far left decided, this is what we need. And I'm not against bail reform. Listen, there's always, you should have some kind of reform. We should be fair and think about what we do, but we should be looking at individual situations. There can't be a
one size fits all.
That's right. And it can't happen, and we're doing that. And look at the cops beat up in Times Square. So, I grew up in Queens, and in Casino Park, there was a rape of a 13-year-old a month or two ago. And that was a Venezuelan person who came in. Venezuela has closed their prisons, okay, because now everybody's up here in New York and the United
States. Trump's been talking about it.
And they're just, and these guys are running around on these bikes, and they're
terrorizing people.
And it's ridiculous. It's not safe to go anywhere. We're paying for this. Hochul is sending $2.4 billion of money from upstate down to Eric Adams in New York City to pay for the illegal immigrants, okay? I think it's somewhere between $350 and $500 a day on a credit card. I was at an event last Sunday, and I spoke to an illegal immigrant who's been here 20 years, okay? Hardworking, pays his taxes, has his business, has brought his family here. And he is upset that he has to work hard, and nobody hands him a credit card every week with $350 or $500 on it. And it's not fair. And he's upset by this. And why wouldn't he be upset? I mean, we're all somewhere or another immigrants, right? Our grandparents, our great-grandparents. But they came here the right way. They worked hard. That's the American way. There's no other, we don't listen to this dream, it's the American dream. We have an American dream, and I'm the American dream. Just a kid from Queens. I used to dig ditches as a kid, became a cop, started a business. Now I'm running for the United States Senate. I mean, you can't do that anyplace else. So it's a great honor and great to do that. But we need to start changing things and getting back to common sense. Parole is a big deal. Bail reform is a big deal. Law and order is a big deal.
Well, and you mentioned Hochul saying that she's trying on bail reform, which is a joke. You're never going to hear me say I agree with our former governor, Andrew Cuomo, but he did say, well, she's not a bystander anymore, right? She's been there 3 years. If she wants to change something, you can't keep blaming it on Cuomo.
That's right.
That's right. And I said,
until he gets elected again somewhere else.
What do you think?
Well, I know, that's a whole other story. I mean,
mayor? You think?
Who maybe.
I don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
No,
I'm
but
sorry.
she stood up at a police memorial in Albany a couple months ago, and she had her sunglasses on, and she stood there and she said, I believe in the police, how important the police are. She doesn't believe in the police. She couldn't care less about the police. And all these politicians, look at what Harris has said about defunding the police. Why hire more
when she raised
police?
money?
That's
for
right.
For the rioters.
That's right. That's right. Let's start thinking about what we're doing. Let's not just be like, and you know what I think, and going back to one of your questions before, I think elected representatives start to just lean right away because they want to make sure they keep to that base and keep to that positioning so that they get elected again. I'm not worried about getting elected again. I want to get elected now. Then I want you to come back in 6 years and say, I want this psycho again. Okay? He did a really good job. Exactly. He actually talked to me, and he did something I asked, or tried to do what I asked him to. I think that's important.
And we were talking about illegal immigration. You even have Greg Abbott's endorsement.
I did. I met the governor. He was great. I'm getting a lot of endorsements. I met the governor. He's a great guy. We're going to try to get down to the border with him at some point. He's busy. I'm busy. But, we talk about, we talk about the southern border constantly. I'm up in Clinton County and speaking to a young lady up there who tells me about her parents moving from Brooklyn many, many years ago to see the stars at night. That's why they moved to Clinton County. I grew up in Queens. If I stood on the apartment house roof where I grew up, I could see the stars once in a while, okay? But now all they see are helicopter lights, okay, of the illegal immigrants coming across the Canadian. We have the largest border with Canada in the state, in the country. We've had a 250% increase in illegal immigrants coming over that border in the last year. It's non, and the Channel 5 actually is Fox News in the City is doing a story on the gas stations up in Clinton County. I think is it Pittsburgh? And I apologize for not knowing the city, but up there where the yellow cabs are coming from Manhattan and being paid to come up there and pick up illegal immigrants to bring them down to Manhattan.
Wow. And I know our Congressman Nick Langworthy's been speaking out on that.
Nick is great.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job.
Nick is just, he was a great leader as the chairman of the party.
I know.
And he's going to be, I was with him at the convention sitting next to him. He's just a great person. Yeah. He cares about this state and this country and all of our representatives. They're all Republican representatives.
Yeah, they do a great job. And I was kind of, a little bit of me wanted Elise Stefanik to be the VP. I'm happy with Vance, but I'm just saying that it would have been kind of neat.
I think she's a very smart young lady. Mm-hmm. Powerful politician. I think she did a great job. Her son was hysterical on the floor holding up a Trump sign. Okay. I think Elise has more to do. I think we're happy that she's where she is.
And she's doing a great job.
She's doing a great job. I think same with Lee Zeldin. I think when Trump comes in November, I think we'll see some changes and maybe we'll see some New York people be part of that administration somewhere along the line. And but two good people. It's a shame. I hope we don't have to lose Elise.
I know.
But she needs to move on and do what she needs to do, not just for the state, but for this country.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be great.
All right, we got to take another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Well, we're just about wrapping up. And by the way, not only thank you for coming in this morning, thank you for giving us so much time.
Oh, thank you. This is great.
This is wonderful. Isn't it fun?
Live
TV?
Anytime I can sit and talk to people, I love it. I talk too much people. My kids say I talk too much.
Is that right? We got a couple comments here. Mike needs to be a regular. Hope he comes back again for another interview.
I'd love to come back. Anytime I'm in Corning, I'll be here. Not even a thought.
You gunning for my job?
No. But I love to be part of your show.
Another comment. If everybody knows what's going on with this illegal immigration thing and the open porous borders that we all know about, why are we so powerless to stop it? It seems like a terrible government-sanctioned invasion.
Well, I think what the left is doing here is they're looking to have all these people come in and vote.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's just, you go to vote.
Yeah.
And you don't show any identification whatsoever.
I know.
I bought a birthday cake. It was my wife's birthday, and the cake was over $100.
Yeah.
We had a big party, so over $100. You had to show your driver's license to match your credit card in order to pay for the cake.
For a birthday cake.
I'm saying, to vote, I could just kind of show up and say, hey, I'm Mike Sapraicone. How are you?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Scribble a
Sign
name
here.
and
That's it. And they don't even check the signatures, right?
No.
But I think that's part of it. This is all political. Yeah. I think with congestion pricing, and that doesn't really relate to you guys, but I think that's a big part of this. Will kill congestion pricing. I think it
will affect us, so in the long term, when you think about it. Increase costs.
It will increase costs, and what we're seeing is, though, and I'm an old transit cop from the 1980s before I went to the NYPD, we lose over $660,000 a day in illegal turnstile jumpers.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't we start putting more law enforcement? Why don't we start cracking down on that? Back in the Bratton days and the Giuliani days, we had quality of life.
Yeah.
We started with quality of life, and that's how we control crime. That's how we got the city back in the 90s.
Yes.
We need to do that everywhere. Talk about quality of life and start at a foundation. But just back to the illegal immigrants, there was people saying, well, the Republicans had an opportunity to close the border. It was all mixed in with the aid to Ukraine, the aid to Israel, and it was then mixed in with the border. Listen, that was 5,000 people a day they wanted to bring into this country. That was their idea of fixing it.
Right.
Zero tolerance is the idea of fixing it. We can't come up with a plan B because guess what? This administration doesn't have a plan A.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's the border problem, and that's what we have to solve. We have to put a plan together and have zero tolerance, put more judges on, put more border patrol on, and stop this asylum because of this persecution from this or that. Come on, stop it.
Yep.
It's just a ploy to get in here. There's no checking that. Look at the fentanyl that's coming to this country. Not just from Mexico, from China, from everywhere. That's the biggest cause of death between males between the ages of 18 and 45. We need to stop it. Again, zero tolerance. And we have to get back to that.
I agree. Now, I know you've been traveling around the great state a lot, and I know you've got another stop in the future here, so you got to get going. But before we go, everybody's asking, how can we help your campaign?
Well, listen, we're about $8.5 million down from what my opponent has, but we're getting there, and we'll keep going. It's hard. It's hard to ask for money.
Yeah.
I'm always asking for money and meeting people, but I'm asking for your advice. I'm asking for your support, just as important. And to get my voice out and my agenda, which is your agenda.
Right.
I want people to understand that. But it's Mike Sapraicone for Senate.com. You can go to my website. You can see my parole petition there. You can see about fundraising. You can see about events we're going to have. You can see where I've been traveling throughout this great state, 62 counties. Never realized it was so big. And what a great time to visit in July and August. I'm looking forward to September. I'm not looking forward to when the snow starts coming in November and December. But by that time, I'll be a senator and we'll come back again.
They don't get much snow in Washington. So
well, they don't. But Frank, thank you so much.
Thanks for
this
doing
was
this.
great being here.
Yeah, safe travels. Anything we can do to help, and like you said, anytime you're in the area, and if you're on the road, you just want to do a quick call or Zoom, we'll do that too.
Well, you have my number, and I have yours, and I'd love to do that. Anytime you're a little bored and you want to spice up things a little bit, give me a ring. I love to chat.
That's what it sounds like everybody wants. All right, we've been talking to our next senator of New York State, Mike. Thanks so much for being on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much for being here.
All right, we'll be right back.